Hi, I'm Mel Power, and welcome to episode 3 of our Bouncing Back for Small Business series brought to you by the Maitland Business Chamber. I've had a lot of fun doing these series, and fun's something we kind of need to have a little bit of right now with everything that's going on in the world. But not only fun, we're also gaining some really useful tips, knowledge, and also some wisdom from our guests over the last week, and also our up and coming guests have got a lot to share. But today I have with me Craig McGregor, the MD or Managing Director of our local hashtag My Maitland Hunter Recruitment Group. Come on in, Craig, turn your camera on. And also we have Chris Burgess, who is the founder of Imagine Now IT. Come on in, Chris. And Chris has been, I know, super busy at the moment helping people get geared up for remote working. But welcome. It's great to have you both here. Thanks for popping in.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Mel. It's great to be here.
My usual question of everyone that comes onto the show is, how are you?
Craig, you can go first on that, Craig?
Yeah, for sure. Look, okay now, to be honest, Mel. It's been tough. It's been a really we're on the roller coaster like everyone else. I think a couple of weeks back when the world of work for us almost stopped completely. It was really difficult conversations with individuals and customers, and our customers are almost like our family. So to move forward was really difficult. But I've really tried to stay positive through this. So in terms of today, feeling good. A couple of weeks ago, not so great.
Thanks for sharing, Craig. What about you, Chris?
Well, we've been pretty overwhelmed. The last 3 weeks has been huge for us because obviously with the scramble to work from home, everyone is, just called on us to how do we make that happen. So it's been pretty overwhelming. I think I've worked every day in the last 3 weeks, just trying to keep things together and keep things rolling. So it started to tape off a little bit, but from that perspective, it's been quite a lot of pressure on us and on our team to just give the support we need to give to our clients.
I think that's what it is about at the moment for those businesses where we are actively supporting other businesses to make these types of things happen. It can be a push, and that's why I always like to check in with people and asking how you are, because everyone's at at different sort of temperature points on things. So how do you both think that small businesses are feeling it generally in the Hunter, and what are you seeing some of the big things that they're facing across Maitland and the Hunter at the moment?
I think there's a different category for different businesses. I think some businesses that were sort of already had some cloud technologies, they were set up, they had a phone system, they had some sort of cloud presence or some remote capability, are faring better than other clients. I think other clients who haven't had that sort of thing, we've got to work from home now, we found some clients overwhelmed because, hey, they're struggling to keep their business going, and now they've got to learn all this new technology that they probably haven't done before to keep their business going. So some of our clients have been totally overwhelmed. Some have been okay. So it's a bit of a mixed bag on where clients are sitting or where people are sitting.
What are your thoughts, Craig?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the biggest issues, I think, for small business in particular here in Maitland, it would be navigating the government incentives. For us as a small business, we've been trying to stay on top of how we can support our casuals, our temp pool, our business, and trying to navigate that with the advice from local businesses, from our accountants, from other sources has been overwhelming, to say the least. But also, I think a lot of businesses have had to pivot. I love that word. My good friend Daniel Borg's been telling me all about pivoting.
I love Dan from Cyborg.
Over the last couple of weeks, and pivoting in terms of delivery. So if you're a cafe, you're doing takeaway now, or if you're a recruitment business, how do you continue to work, or what's the delivery mode that will be effective for you today and into the future? And I think one of the other biggest challenges that most businesses have had, like I mentioned in the start, was just staying positive in this unknown territory. So it's been a real challenge for a lot of individuals that I've spoken to, a lot of our customers. And so, been trying to keep connected to keep that conversation going.
Yeah. I think that the hospitality industry in particular, it's been a big pivot. We've actually got Dan from Fratelli in Maitland popping onto one of the shows, and some of our other retailers in the area in a few shows' time to share about that exact topic. Actually, Craig, pivots.
Yep.
Yeah, excellent.
But I think the working remotely is one of the things that I wanted to talk. And there's obviously a reason why I wanted you both here, because Craig, you're all about people, and Chris, you're about helping more people work effectively. So you're addressing both sides of things. But as you've seen people work into that shift of being remote, what have you seen some of the challenges that people themselves, not just the business owner, but the workers face through this?
So the technology is really obviously, if you've not done a Zoom before, or if you're not done
Mm.
like a 3CX or a Teams or a thing like that, suddenly you're thrust into this world of, okay, I've got to make this work. And they might be at home on their home computers that they've, that's a cheap computer that's bought from somewhere that maybe it's not going too well now when they're doing that. Or again, if they're working from home, the kids are trying to stream Netflix at the same time. They've got
Oh,
problems on their internet. The Wi-Fi equipment they've got is, the quality is not as good as what they got at their offices. So there's all these technologies and issues that are hindering some clients when they are working from home, which makes it more stressful for them. So they're not only trying to do their work, but then hang on, we've got to, oh, I can't get my mic going. It's not working. Oh, there's two mics working here. Oh, the video camera's not working. Oh my God, what's going on here? It's like you put that
stress.
as well as the hang on, we've got to work from home and keep our business going. It's a huge thing. It just adds more pressure. So we're finding that, the technology people have invested in may not have been the best. It's slow and it's problems, and they've got a poor router that's an issue. So those all things impact on their ability to stay connected at work. And look, lots of them want to stay connected. What you were saying, Craig, they want to have a conference call, or they want to talk together. They want to continue to have those meetings. And I think that's pretty important for businesses to do, to stay connected. It's easy for us being an IT company. We do that all the time, but other businesses who, they might be just been in their office, they might not have done this before. To them, it all looks like Mount Everest, and, trying to help them, hey guys, it's not Mount Everest. We can get there together is really important. If that makes
Great.
sense.
Yeah, it does. What about you, Craig? I mean, from an EQ point of view, really, with people like the business owner and then their team members. I mean, how are you seeing them businesses and their employees deal with this shift from being a person to remote?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like I think our business, we're very fortunate. We use Chris and Imagine Now IT, and for the last, I'm trying to think, Chris, you set us up with our 3CX system, where our mobile or our phone system is actually our laptop computers, probably about 5 years ago,
I
maybe.
think you're one of the first,
Wow.
Craig. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're pretty used to it as a business, and using technology like Zoom. We've been doing video interviews via Zoom for a couple of years now. So, but the thing is, I think people aren't used to it because they're used to that connection. And I jokingly say to people, I've got a fair bit of grey hair and this beard, and I sometimes feel like a dinosaur because I think some of my customers and candidates and clients, they don't want to talk to me on the phone because, in this day and age, or prior to the COVID, everything was via email or text.
Yeah.
And I just encourage everyone now, embrace this technology, see
Yeah.
someone's face, set up drinks with your mates or your work colleagues on a Friday afternoon, stay connected, because you can feel like you're in a cave. You can see here I'm working from home at the moment, and it's great to be able to share more time with the kids, but I also need to be connected to those people that give me energy, which is my customers and my staff and those sorts of people. So yeah, you've got to get off the text, get off the emails, and see someone face to face, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, look, I totally agree. And it is, the connectedness is definitely that, definitely that.
Yeah.
And so what about that whole aspect of managing, those stress levels? And then you talked about that, Chris, where not only is there stress levels of people managing technology, but for business owners that are managing staff and team and trying to juggle that, What are sort of, some thoughts and ideas and advice you can give to employers and business owners together to navigate this
Yep.
whole new world that we're operating in, which for some is new, but like you,
Yep.
Craig, you've been across it for 5 years, so you're all over it. So what are your thoughts?
I think, just take a step back. People often get frustrated very quickly, and they look to blame someone. Just take a step back and think, okay, it's going to be okay. What do I need to fix this? Who can I call? We had a client on the phone this morning. I was talking with Aaron, my operations manager. He's thrown his hands up in the air. It's just, I'm so frustrated. I can't do it. So
Mm.
for us as supporting him, look, yep, mate, we'll do this. Yeah, this is what the problem is. Helping them, walk them through. Hang on, let's look at it objectively. What's wrong? And when you help people to look at things logically, it makes it easier. Then they stress levels come down. So I think that what we're seeing is that the stress, the technology. Yep, we'll get there in the end. Take a step back. We're all in it together. We all are struggling, and I think if you really think about it that way, I think you're going to cope a lot better. Stuff happens, and it'll get resolved. I think if you take that approach, I think you're going to be you can bring your stress levels down quite a lot. Yeah.
But think about, that example that you just used. I know your operations manager, Aaron, and he doesn't live in New South Wales.
No,
So
Tasmania.
you've been managing a remote employee and operations manager for a long time now. How do you do that?
Well, exactly what we're doing now. We communicate. So this morning, for instance, Aaron's called in. He's had a workflow meeting with the staff, and we're working out what we're going to do today. So those things are natural for us. If you've got someone working from remotely, I think what you need to do is don't think that they're working remotely.
Yep.
Think about it as if they're in your office. So you conduct meetings and conduct time where you might not even be doing face-to-face. It might be in a conference call, and as if they're in the room with you. And I think that works really well. If you think about it that way, they're not a remote staff. They're part of the business. It works really, really well. I think if businesses approach it that way, it works fantastically well, if that makes sense.
So if you think about it from managing your staff, I think this is one of the issues that a lot of people, unlike Chris, are now dealing with, and they're being dealt with this in a fast time period that they weren't expecting to do this, and now they have to do this. So you have to put in policies and procedures around working from home. But I think one of the biggest things is trust. That that old adage of 9 to 5 and working and getting paid by the hour.
Working 9 to 5.
That's right. Well, we're now actually getting paid by productivity. What I find fascinating and really interesting, and this is something that I think if we fast forward in time, I can see a lot of organisations taking advantage of this. And I've been predicting for the last, I don't know, I've been saying it's maybe 5 or 10 years away. But if you think about large corporate organisations in Sydney, we are untapped markets for them in Maitland.
Yep.
There are such highly skilled people. So let's take a marketing executive. Why can't a marketing executive work out of East Maitland, teleconference into the head office in Sydney, and still have this lifestyle here, create creative, awesome work for that brand, but just not go to an office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Those things are going to be, that the speed of that is going to come through over the next 12 months, 2 years is going to be exponential.
And I think you've got to have flexible employers as well. So like, for example,
I
called Aaron this morning. He was in the middle of a maths lesson, homeschooling. So look, finish your homeschooling, mate. We'll come back to it. Yeah, I think as an employer, you've got to be flexible. And you're right. The trap is working too much when you're at home, working too much or too less. I think you've got to be flexible. And what you said, Craig, trust is really, really important.
But that's a real balance there, Chris. There will be. It's a seesaw, and that you get that balance right. You'll keep Aaron happy. You'll keep Aaron productive, and he'll be fantastic for you.
Yep, and that's been my thoughts. Absolutely, that's my thoughts on employees for a long, long time. They are the most valuable asset of your business. Second to none. They are the most important thing, and especially even if they're working remote, you help them, look after them, support them. I think that's what our value as employers are to our employees.
And on that note, I am going to give a little bit of a shout out here too. I know how much support all of us have given to the Maywell organisation as
Yep.
part of Maitland, and that's been, you know, very much a heart from all of us. So, and I know you've had quite a few people that have come through there with you, Chris, which leads me into my next and probably moving to the end of our chat.
Board member and a major sponsor right here.
Yeah.
I know. It's very exciting. Why don't we all love Maywell?
We just missed the ball this year. We should set up a virtual ball.
The virtual ball.
Yes. Lynn, if
all
you're
get dressed
listening. Up. We do love Maywell. We really do. And I guess what I want to check in with you both is the one thing that we haven't talked about yet, and that is, what about the horrible situation and sad situation where business owners can't keep their team members because they just, you know, all sorts of different reasons. And I know the government's working with stuff, you know, to support that, but the reality is we are going to find people out the other side of this that are not going to have a job to go to. And I'd love both of your thoughts on, I'm going to check in with you, Chris, potentially around, you know, the mental state around, I think, of how people can manage that. And Craig, I'd love you to add to that and comment more on the actual practical things of what they can do. So Chris, I'd love you to lead off if that's all right.
I think the hard thing for people when they lose their jobs, they possibly lose part of their identity, because that's, you know, a lot of people have their identity wrapped up in what they do. So that's a real big issue for some people, not all people, for some people, losing that job. Who am I? I don't work anymore. How am I going to be productive? What am I going to do? I think that's a real key issue for people, and supporting them, you know, through that journey, you know, so they don't get caught up and hang on, well, yep, you don't have a job, but yet your value as a person, you know, is there in other ways with your family and being at home or things like that. I think if you're at home...
Sound like a career coach, Chris.
I've just got my other hat on there for a second.
Yeah,
So, you know, and being at home, you know, people aren't used to being at home. They're not used to being at home with their partners all the time, their kids all the time. You know, managing those relationships, you know, things that normally are maybe possibly are under the surface can come up and place even more stress on relationships, and that's not even going into the financial pressures of things. You know, financial pressures on people and relationships can be huge. Absolutely, it destroys relationships. So, I mean, it's hard. It's going to be really hard for people to, you know, come to terms with that. I think, you know, if that's happening, they need to reach out to people who can support them, counselors, psychologists. Don't go, the big thing is you don't have to go through it alone. You know, reach out for someone to support, even if it's someone else to talk to. Don't do it alone. That's really, really important, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can take your little career coaching message there and take it to slightly further with something that we created years ago. We call it the barbecue test. And so if Mel and I met at a barbecue on a Saturday afternoon, first question I ask Mel is, what's her name? The second question I usually ask Mel is, what do you do? So what Chris just mentioned there is potentially 50% of someone's identity is their job. And when they lose their job, how do they emotionally deal with that? And so we educate people that you are so much more than your job. Yep. You are more. You are a dad. You're a teacher. You're a son, a daughter, whatever that might be, and you've got to focus on that. And then the second component that Chris talked about was guilt. And you see that a lot, that particularly in men, they feel like they're the breadwinner of the family. I've lost my job. I shouldn't enjoy this time. I shouldn't go out for lunch with my wife, or I shouldn't go for a walk with my kids. I need to be at home looking for a job 100% of the time. Well, that's not going to work. You need to balance that between being the dad, the husband, the job seeker, and you need to really focus. And one of the best things to do is look at something that you haven't done, which may be exercise. And I remember Andrew Hughes spoke in your last session about just getting outside to decompress.
Yep.
You know, go
getting
for a walk.
Getting grounded and being present.
Buy a bike, do those things that energize you, fill your mind with positivity so that you'll be much more effective in job search. So those things are quite critical. And that component of loss, people don't really get and don't deal with. And that's, it's really important to work through it. It's almost like a grieving process for some people, particularly if you've been in a job for a long time and you literally loved it. That's a really hard thing to deal with, that loss. So look, I asked, I'm going to give a bit of a free plug if that's okay.
We love free stuff to support the community right now. Thank you.
Well, we've thought about this a lot, and at Hunter Recruitment, we go, how can we help right now? And what we've done is we've created on our website a free a page with a downloadable resume template. So you can go and download a resume template to use to create your own resume. But there's also a 22-minute video workshop, which will actually give you tips from me on how to write, how to construct that resume, and how to do things like keyword search. Like, people don't understand about the importance of having content and what that content will do to get them ranked higher to get to an interview. So it's just those tricks and tips to try and make someone's
resume SEO at its finest. That's what we're calling
that. That's what it's all about now. With resume getting passed through recruitment software, if you don't have keywords in there, you'll be at the bottom of the page. So that's the reality of today's market.
That. How could I not know that? Yeah. Resume SEO, boom! I love it.
Yep. So go to our webpage. There's a free on our blog site. There's a free downloadable document, and we're going to have a watch party tomorrow. I think slightly after today's session. It's about 2 o'clock, where you can jump on, watch the video, ask me any questions you like about writing your resume, and we just want to help as many people as we can.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
We'll put all of those links below the post here. If you're watching this on YouTube or in our community group or the page, all those links will be below.
Sure.
Chris, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to expand it because I think Craig hit on something really, really important. For those people, if you're listening to this and you've lost your job, you actually can be feeling a grief. You can be grieving as if like you've lost someone. It's the same. So if you've got those feelings and you feel like that, reach out to someone. Really, really important. And getting out of the house, exercising, absolutely. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. I'm so appreciative. And on behalf of the Maitland Business Chamber, thank you both for taking the time to come in and have a Zoom. Share your knowledge, expertise, and most of all, your care for Maitland and the people that make up our community in Maitland. So we'll see you online. And I'm sure, maybe the Maywall virtual ball is going to happen, right?
Yeah, I love it. Great idea.
Well, maybe perhaps when we get out of all this, we come through this, it'll be great to go to a ball and celebrate, or, you know what I mean?
100%.
To have some fun, have a dance and do all those sort of things. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm there.
All right.
So
thanks, guys.
Thanks, Maitland Business Chamber, for the opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mel. Thanks, Craig.
Bye.
Bye.